Hello, welcome back once again to Infinite Jeff, the project where I, Jeff, read the book and Jest to you one page time, one day at a time, put it on YouTube. This is page 416. Here we go. Bridge, by drinking himself towards pancreatitis and a Beacon Hill brownstone, to regather himself and orchestrate a profound national dissatisfaction with the passivity involved, even in DSS-based cable watching. What matter whether your choices are 4 or 104 or 504, Veal's campaign argued, because here you were, assuming, of course, you were even cable ready or dish equipped and able to afford monthly fees that applied no matter what you chose each month. Here you were, sitting here, accepting only what has been pumped by distant AC/DC fiat into your entertainment ken. Here you were, consoling yourself about your dependence and passivity with rapid-fire zapping and surfing that were starting to be suspected to cause certain rather nasty types of epilepsy over the longest term. The cable cabal's promise of empowerment, the campaign argued, was still just the invitation to choose which of 504 visual spoon feedings you'd sit there and open wide for, footnote 164. And so, but what if, their campaign's appeal basically ran, what if, instead of sitting still for choosing the least of 504 infantile evils, the Vox and Digitus Populi could choose to make its home entertainment literally and essentially adult? I.e., what if, according to Interlace, what if a viewer could more or less 100% choose what's on at any given time? Choose and rent over PC and modem and fiber optic line from tens of thousands of second-run films, documentaries, the occasional sport, old beloved non-Happy Days programs, wholly new programs, cultural stuffs, and C, all prepared by the time-tested, newly lean Big Four's mammoth vaults and production facilities, and packaged and disseminated by interlaced talent in convenient fiber optic pulses that fit directly on the new palm-sized 4.8 megabyte PC diskettes Interlace was marketing as cartridges, or, if you preferred and so chose, jackable into a good old premillennial widescreen TV with at most a coaxial or two, self-selected programming, chargeable on any major card, or on a special low finance charge Interlace account available to any of the 76% of U.S. households possessed of PC, phone line, and verifiable credit. What if, Veal's spokeswoman ruminated aloud, what if the viewer could become his own programming director? What if she/he could define the very entertainment happiness it was his/her right to pursue? The rest, for Hal, is recent history. By the time not only second-run Hollywood releases, but a good many first-run films, plus new sitcoms and crime dramas and near-life sports, plus now also big-name anchor nightly newscasts, weather, art, health, and financial analysis cartridges were available and pulsing nicely onto cartridges everywhere. The ranks of AC/DC's own solvent program pumpers had been winnowed back into the old movie and afternoon baseball major metro regional systems of more like the BS 80s. Passive pickings were slim. All right, that was page number 416, where he kind of describes Netflix a little bit. You know, old Netflix, when you actually send for the DVDs. But he didn't apparently anticipate the fact that everything would just eventually be distributed digitally, not on everything's streaming now, not on a cartridge or a disc. Well, you know me, I like my physical media. But, yeah. So, it's currently April 9th, 2021. It is 4:59 p.m. I worked this morning. I have to work tomorrow morning. It's Friday. Tomorrow's Saturday. Tomorrow I get my second COVID vaccination shot after work, so it should be a shorter day of work for me because I'll start at 5:30 in the morning. Normally I'd work till 2, but they should be letting me out at 11:30 because So I got to be over by noon to the place where they're giving out the shots. So, yeah. Yeah. So, playing a game called Immortals Phoenix Rising. I recently purchased an Xbox One, not a Series S or a Series X, which is the current generation, which are hard to find and expensive, but the One, which was the previous generation, but a lot of games are still compatible with. I'd kind of been wanting one just because I didn't have one, and I would like the option. There's a couple of games for it I'd like to get that aren't on other systems. And so but they were, excuse me. Once they introduced the Series X and the Series S, which are the new ones, they had just completely stopped, which by the way are hard to find still, but they basically stopped production on the One, which is what I was looking for, the previous generation, the equivalent to like a PS4 generation. But I'd been asking at work, and the guy who's in charge of electronics, he knew I was looking for one, so he's like, "Hey, we had one returned, and it's unused. It's still, the box has been opened, but it's never been used." And I was able to get a discount on it, and so I bought the game Immortals Phoenix Rising, in which you play a Grecian shield bearer, basically Typhon, I guess he's like it's Greek gods and shit. And the story is Prometheus is narrating story to Zeus, and you're playing the story, and so it has a comedic tone, which is interesting. I like it, but it's kind of the Ubisoft Quebec's, who has done a lot of Assassin's Creed games, which I'm a big fan of the Assassin's Creed series. They're always fun. This is kind of their take on Breath of the Wild, the last major Zelda game. So it's pretty good. There are things I like about it that I kind of feel I like it, that it did better than Breath of the Wild, and there are things that I like about it that things that Breath of the Wild did better. But anyway, it's good. It's fun. I played it for about fucking 6 hours yesterday, so on my day off. And then so currently working my way through that, and I went to the record store today, Underground Sound, saw my buddy Matt, saw my buddy Claire, and I picked up, I'm kind of working my way through the Parquet Courts discography. So I picked up one of their older albums called Sunbathing Animal, which they had that, and another one called Light Up Gold, which I was like, Claire, you recommended me Human Performance, which turned out to be a really good album. Which one of these do you recommend? She's like, I don't know, I don't really I haven't listened to much past Wide Awake and Human Performance. I'm like, well, that makes sense, because those are two monster albums, and I can understand how you wouldn't feel the need to deviate. But she actually looked up the sales figures for the past 3 years. They'd sold 12 copies of Sunbathing Animal. Oh no, of Light Up Gold, and 10 copies of Sunbathing Animal. So I bought Sunbathing Animal, A, because it sold less copies, but B, because I like the cover better. And I'm going to get them both eventually. So, and then I also got the newest Godspeed You Black Emperor album, called God's P at State's End, and just been getting a lot of good reviews. They usually turn in a good performance, kind of post-rocky, like the Doom, Sound of Doom. And then the last thing I got was the Her soundtrack, the Spike Jonze film, which I still haven't seen, with Joaquin Phoenix. But the soundtrack is by Arcade Fire and Owen Pallett, who used to record his Final Fantasy. And he's done a lot of the string work for Arcade Fire, amongst many other artists that I like. So, I was like, well, I got to jump on that. So it's funny. So I think I've seen, because I've seen Arcade Fire. I saw them in 2017, in like November of 2017 in Windsor, Ontario. And that was really cool. But then I also saw Owen Pallett play as Final Fantasy back in like 2000 and, that would have been 2008, I want to say. Yeah, Pitchfork in Chicago, like July. And then I saw Godspeed You Black Emperor at St. Andrew's Hall in Detroit in like November of 2001, something like that. Had a band called Larval open up for them. And then Parquet Courts I saw in 2019 in Chicago at the Pitchfork Music Festival. That was when it got rained out, and then we didn't know that they opened the park back in, so we got to see a truncated Parquet Court set, and then the other two things we wanted to see, me and my friends who had driven to Chicago, were Freddie Gibbs and then Belle and Sebastian performing the album If You're Feeling Sinister in its entirety, which are something that kind of a one-time thing. So, like, it was hot as balls that day when we were driving to Chicago. And, just like 100 degrees, like literally. It was just, ugh. So we get there and it's hot, it's oppressive, but we're there for a good time. I'm having a good time. I got my Space Cats shirt on. It's great. And then it gets overcast. I knew it was going to rain, but it wasn't raining as badly as it did, but it gets overcast. It starts to cool down, which, was great. But, Parquet Courts is playing, and I'm enjoying them because I'd really gotten to their album Wide Awake, and my friends who weren't as big into them were just kind of like, whatever. And then, they come on after, 8 or 9 songs and like, well, this has got to be our last song. They're kicking us out because of the storm. They're going to cut we got to be done after this. So they play their last song, and they actually cut the mics, cut the sound on them before they were done, which is got to be shitty. So they didn't even get to finish that song. And it started to rain hardcore. And here's the thing. I was following Pitchfork's fucking Twitter feed, but I was not following Pitchfork Music Festival's fucking Twitter feed to see that because when they kicked us everyone out, they made it really seem like that was it. Like they were shutting down for the day. But nope. So we walked around the town, the city, walked around Chicago a bit, got some dinner, some deep dish pizza, which, fuck you, I love it. Fuck you if you don't like Chicago deep dish. It's not even called pizza, it's like a casserole. Whatever the fuck you want to call it, it's delicious. And we're at dinner, and I'm checking Twitter, and Freddie Gibbs' Twitter is like, oh, back at Pitchfork, and I'm like, motherfucker. You really made it seem like that was the end of the show. Anyway. And then driving back the next day. Had a really good breakfast, walked around a little bit, and then drove back, and it was raining the whole time. And there was this truck on my ass because he didn't want to downshift, and it felt like he was just riding my ass, and I just fucking hate it. I think that was kind of a turning point because I was like, I'm never doing this again. I'm never driving to Chicago again. I will be driven to Chicago. I'll take a train. I'll take a plane. Probably take a train over a plane, but I will not drive to Chicago ever again, and I will not drive back from Chicago. That I promise you. Well, I blathered on long enough. I'm hungry. I'm going to take a shower. I'm going to eat some food. Have a good night. I love you. Love you. Love you. Ah.